Amad was one of the few bright sparks in a terrible season for Manchester United last term. The 23-year-old finally got the opportunity to showcase his talent on a consistent basis at Old Trafford and was impressing under Ruben Amorim until an injury interrupted his campaign. Now, with changes occurring at the club after the signings of Matheus, Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo, I want to talk about the improvements Amad needs to make, his position for United going forward, and the key attribute which Amorim loves about him. Hello guys, welcome back to United District, and today I want to speak about Amad, because with all of the attention on Bryan Mbeumo, on Matheus Cunha, I don't think he's going under the radar, but I think people just aren't speaking about how important he could be for United next season. So I want to go into that, go into his potential role under Ruben Amorim, and look at a few specific bits to do with Amad. So obviously he played against Leeds, and I do think he kind of went under the radar in that game, to be fair. I don't know about you guys, but I thought he was really impressive. He might have not got involved throughout the entire half, which you can expect. United weren't amazing, but when he got on the ball, he just looked so sharp. And I don't know about you guys, but man, I just love those type of players. I think Mazraoui's another one where they're just so technically clean and they do every action consistently, and they just, yeah, that's my type of player. But last season, Amad had his breakthrough campaign. He had 43 appearances across the season, 11 goals, 10 assists, but he did only have 2,700 minutes overall. That was obviously because he was a bench player for a little bit under Erik ten Hag, and then he really took control when Ruben Amorim took charge. Now for me, what excites me most about that season is that Amad done really well. He was probably our second best player of the season, but there's still so much that he can improve on. I don't think there's any areas necessarily where he's like really weak, but I just think across the board he can just go that 10-15% up in a lot of different categories. So yeah, that was exciting for Amad. And now obviously these two players have come in, Matheus Cunha, Bryan Mbeumo, two signings that Manchester United fans, myself included, are really excited about. But obviously there are a couple question marks which some people have brought up. That obviously Mbeumo signing means that he's most likely going to be that right-sided number 10. And Amad, who started there for quite a few games last season, he was also wing-back in some games. I think a lot of people did potentially expect him to play there. Think back to when United were interested in Cunha from Sporting, and obviously he's gone to Chelsea, but when those links were happening, I think a lot of people were expecting Amad to be that right-sided number 10 and really kind of come into his own in that position. Obviously that didn't work out for United. They've instead gone for Mbeumo. And now I think a lot of people think Amad is going to be the wing-back, and that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not really important still. This is back when he signed a new long-term deal at Old Trafford, and Ruben Amorim said we're going to be more demanding with Amad. He knows what we want to expect from him. Now he has a bigger responsibility because he has a long contract with the club, so we're going to be really demanding with him. It's pretty clear that Ruben Amorim does really rate Amad, and I do want to touch on his positioning, where he will probably play. This is the Leeds lineup for that first half, but instead of Toby Collier, I have put Bryan Mbeumo in just to help with the idea, because that is what's going to happen. And it was interesting to see Toby Collier. He started in the number 10 position. Obviously, I think that is a sign that Amad is preparing to be the wing back behind Mbeumo, because it didn't really make much sense in terms of those two players. It was swapped later on, and Toby Collier did play here. And I do think Bryan Mbeumo, potentially not throughout entire matches, etc., but I do think we will see this during periods next season where Mbeumo is taking that deeper role and Amad does move into the front three. I think it can be a little bit fluid. We'll see how it happens. But one of the things that I wanted to mention with Amad playing at wing back, well, actually two things. I want to mention the two biggest plus sides I see from him playing in this position, because I do think there's positives and negatives to both roles for Amad. But on the plus side, and I think we saw it a couple of times against Leeds, we saw it a lot last season, the overload to isolate to get these wing backs in 1-versus-1 positions is going to be a really key part of Amorim's attacking plan next season, I think. I think we saw it so much on the left side, whether it was Alejandro Garnacho, because obviously sometimes when he was playing left 10, he would instead go really wide and the wing back would come inside. So whether it was Garnacho, whether it was Diego Dallo or Patrick Dorgu, they all got so much space to work with on this side because United would get the ball out to them quite quickly, whether they broke the press, whether they switched the play, and they would get a really good opportunity to attack on this side. But United didn't really score many goals. They didn't really get many assists from those situations because none of them really had the ability to beat their man and then also remain composed. I think obviously Garnacho is really good in those areas, 1v1 in terms of maybe beating them, but we all know that his final ball or his final decision is not the best. Now, obviously, I think Amorim thinks that is where Amad can thrive. He has spoken about it before. I just plucked a couple of quotes which I could find, but he really rates the way that Amad kind of pushes a player back and wants that 1v1. He said it in the top quote, in the first half, every time Amad has the ball, he pushes the ball. He pushes the other team to the final third. That type of player is very important. And the second quote is from when Amad just returned from injury. So he said, Amad is really important. 1 against 1, you can feel it. He doesn't have yet that explosion to go 1 against 1, but the opponent is always looking for that. So what I take from those and what I've seen from Amad at wingback so far, and also I do think it will suit Mbeumo here a little bit, is that Ruben Amorim really rates his ability to go one-on-one on this flank. And now, while Mbeumo, I know a lot of people have mentioned, also is quite good out wide, we've seen him as well throughout his Premier League campaign, especially when Ivan Toney was playing up front, is that he could almost play as a shadow striker, playing off of him, playing quite centrally. And yeah, I think with Mbeumo coming inside, he's such a dangerous player that will make this left back or the left midfielder double take, because you've got someone really dangerous out wide and someone really dangerous in central areas. And they both can probably swap there. Amad's not as physical as Mbeumo, I don't think, but we saw it against Leeds, that chance which Matheus Cunha should have got, but Chido Obi tried to score. That was from Amad picking the ball up in these pockets. So I think it's a complicated kind of situation, but I do think both players can play both positions to a pretty good level. But there is one other thing which I want to mention, which I think for me, last season made me want Amad to play wing-back more often. And it was the fact that the players in these positions probably should be getting on the ball more. But at least for now at United, they aren't. And I don't really even think they would be getting on the ball more than the wing-backs in the ideal formation, in the ideal of Ruben Amorim's formation. And I want to see Amad get on the ball. I think last season there were periods where he was playing this position, and yeah, once the ball got to him, he was really good. He was really exciting. He might have scored in some certain games, what I'm talking about, but he wasn't getting involved in the play enough for me. Like I said at the start, players like Mazraoui, like Amad, like Bruno, these technical players who you kind of know what you're getting from them, they need to be kind of involved in play as much as possible, I think. And when Amad's here, whether it's in helping in the build-up, which I think he is really good at, whether it's kind of driving inside and playing those passes to Fernandes or Cunha or potentially a switch, or linking up with potentially a really good right-sided number 10, because he hasn't really had that whenever he's played wing-back or right-side. He's not really had someone who's on his level on that same flank. So I think when he is at wing-back, he does not only get more touches, I think there's a lot more that he can influence across the pitch and move, and also ghost into areas. So obviously, if you move these players forward, obviously a lot of attention will be on Mbeumo, on the striker, on Cunha. I think Amad can then ghost into certain situations. He scored a couple of goals from it last term. One thing that I do think you are missing from Amad being here in that front three is that he's the best counter presser in United's squad by a mile. the amount of times, even in that Leeds game, he almost scored from pressing the goalkeeper. He's so good at it. But yeah, I also do want to mention a couple of things which I want Amad to personally improve on next season. Let me get your thoughts on these in the comments below, but I think there's two main things. I really want him to improve in terms of his ruthlessness. I did think we saw progression of this last season, where towards the start of the season, I still remember that he was almost trying to walk the ball into the back of the net and show his skill, and we all knew it. And then slowly we started seeing that ruthlessness come out. I really want to see that full pelt next season, especially because, like I mentioned, Ruben Amorim really rates his 1v1. That's what he wants from Amad. And obviously, I think sometimes Amad is unbelievable when I don't want to mention the game, but Spurs in the final, there was like a 20-minute period, I think, in the first half before they scored, where it was just like, okay, Amad's on form here. He is ruining the fullback. And then he does go quiet, in not only in that game, but in some other games where he doesn't necessarily take it on every single time. I really want to see that ruthlessness come out, and also inside the box, because I think he's a really good finisher and he hasn't really shown that. And the other thing that I really want to see Amad improve is if he's playing in this position on the wing back and he's going to be getting into these situations, I don't think he's necessarily bad at it, but I really want to see him improve cutting the ball back into these kind of areas. It was almost like a cutback for Cunha in that chance I mentioned earlier, but I don't think it was more just of a sideward pass inside the box. I really want to see him get into the byline. If he's not going to cut in and maybe cross or link up with players in here, I really want to see him improve the cutbacks, because I think, as I mentioned in a previous video, that Ruben Amorim really wants United to improve on that. And Amad is going to be a key player for that. But yeah, I don't think there is necessarily loads of weaknesses in Amad's game. Like I mentioned at the start, I think what he needs is just to go another 10% in a load of different kind of categories of attributes. Whereas, like, I don't think that there's anything which is majorly alarming in his game. That's why he's one of United's best players. And I'm really excited to see how he does next season. I don't think that this entire right wing back, right 10 thing, which is going on at the moment, which some people are really worried about, I don't personally think it's too much of an issue, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he gets on next season, but yeah, that's all from me. If you've enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like. If you haven't been here before, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It would be much appreciated. That's all from me. I'll see you in the next one.